Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're going to talk to you about the public transportation here in Colombia, and we're going to tell you some details about Barranquilla because this is where we live right now. So we hope you enjoyed and please keep watching. Now I'm going to talk to you about taxis. Taxis are one kind of public transportation used in this country, and I'm sure it's used all over the world. But here in Barranquilla, for example, there is a problem with the use of taxis, and it's that not everyone can afford to take a taxi. Most of the university students prefer to take a bus instead of taking a taxi, and this is because taxis are not the cheapest option ever. And for example, in my experience, I prefer to take a taxi, even though, how I said, is not the cheapest option, but it's my life first, and I consider it as a safely way of transportation. And later I'm going to interview some students so to let you know what it's their opinion. But now I'm going to say something important, and is the social status and the economy takes place in these situations, because if I'm not the poorest one, I can take a taxi, and if I'm not the richest one, I prefer to take a bus. And this is true, and this is important because we have to see this if we are going to take one kind of convenience here in this country. But some other thing is that the importance of time is also important, and because if I take a taxi, I know that it's going to have less time to arrive into a place than if I take a bus. And this is true. I mean, I had the experience of traveling by taxi, and I can say that this is true. I am with Andres, and he is a music student. So Andres, hello, how are you?
I'm alright, and you?
Fine, thank you. And Andres, what kind of transportation do you use?
I usually take a bus every day when I go to home, when I go to school, and when I get back to home.
And why do you use bus and not taxi, for example?
Because I think it's cheaper, and I mean it's faster, because if I use for example Transmetro, even though it's more comfortable, it's a little bit slower, so I like.
And finally, I am with Daniela Cortez. She is a university student. Daniela, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine.
Thanks, I'm fine. Daniela, please tell me, what public transportation do you usually use?
I usually use taxi because I think bus is like, I don't know, it's ugly and it's too hot.
Even though you know that buses are cheaper than taking taxis.
Yes, but you pay for it. You pay for go just you and that.
There are better conditions.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Daniela.
Hi. Let's gonna talk about some of the most common problems in the public transportation here in Barranquilla. These problems are the lack of the civil culture, the bad roads, and that we don't have a public company in charge of these buses. First of all, the lack of the civil culture. Here in Barranquilla, we have a lot of lack of the civil culture because people don't like to use the bridges, and people like to make the stops whenever they want. As you could see in these videos that I want to show you, you can see mostly clearly that the Universidad del Norte, in fact, we have these people in here also. These people are everywhere. Universidad del Norte have make some investment to improving this. As you can see, Universidad del Norte have put some of these signs, but they don't really care, don't really give enough attention to the things, and people still crossing the roads. Also, you can see here that they are making park station where they want, even it's not allowed. Well, let's gonna talk about of the bad roads. In Carrera 51B and other roads, they are not quite wide. That's why the mayor's office of Barranquilla has made also a lot of investment to improve the public transportation here. As you may see or may not, we are making a bridge in 51 to make this better. Also, we have a new work to make a better free of the vehicles in the city when it rains, because usually when it rains we have flash floods, and that's why we are making this arrangement to the roads. While in another cities and another countries like New York, they have a public company in charge of the mobility. But here in Barranquilla we don't have it. We have a lot of buses from a lot of companies with the same routes. This remains in a lot of traffic with not a really good service, and people getting mocked by this. As you could see or experience, if you have to take Litoral or another bus, you may see that they don't really pass with frequency. It remains that every 15 minutes the bus will come very very full. There's no space for you. There's no space even for the air. But they feel fit. The chauffeur says, "Hey, échese para atrás, hay espacio." That means that the people have to move to the back to make another people and make a space for another people to enter. That's all. Thanks for your attention.
Now, let's talk about a new transportation that has been used in the last 5 years. The Transmetro, or Traslento, as is usually named by the citizens, making a reference to a slow public transportation. Although that this isn't even a new concept of transportation in the country, the idea of making this possible in Barranquilla was introduced in 2001 when the government did a study to solve the problem of transportation. 4 years later, they started the project crossing a lot of important streets and creating even more traffic, making uncomfortable a lot of people. Few months later, they start to have uses with the creeks or arroyos that get formed in several areas of Barranquilla, making it slower the construction of this transportation. Finally, in April 7 of 2010, the Transmetro was opened to the public with a very low participation of people because, according to the Hobson model, Colombia has a high uncertainty avoidance index, making them conservative and uncomfortable with the new idea or change. But the government doesn't give up and make a lot of change in the system to convince the citizens to use it. So with the pass of the year, more and more people start to use it, making their mainly way of transportation. In spite of all this change, the Transmetro still have a lot of problems. First, even if you only pay one bus, you have to take more than once to reach your destination in a lot of situations. There are a lot of routes that the Transmetro doesn't use, making necessary other buses or way of transportation. It has fewer seats than a normal bus, making this more uncomfortable. As we can infer, the Transmetro didn't solve the problem of transportation yet, but maybe in several years it can be the solution as we can see in the first world country.
And now I'm gonna talk about the problems in Barranquilla about the topic of mobility. As you know, Barranquilla in rush hour is impossible to move from one point to another because Barranquilla has many cars in the street. One solution to improve this topic, mobility, it could be building a subway, one line from the downtown of the city to the periphery. Because in the subway, the citizens could move faster, and it's not necessary wait in the street and exposed to be attacked or robbed or something. This solution of building a subway can produce shock in the culture. Why? Because here in Barranquilla are not it's not usual take a bus or take a medium of transportation in a specific place. But with this subway, the people or the persons needs to move to one point to take the subway. Other solution to have Barranquilla for improve the mobility is integrate the metro bus because here in the city the private hands has monopolized the transportation in the city. Um, in one street have many routes of bus and not only one that occur in other cities like Bogota, United States, etc.